A very good afternoon to all meditators. I'm very glad to see all of you again here to practice mindfulness meditation sincerely and diligently. Since all of you have experience in the practice, I shall give a brief instructions only. So, as long as you remember the principle or the guidelines of the practice, then you can be assured that you are practicing the right way. So, in other words, you have to live at the present moment in order to be mindful of whatever object that is arising at that present moment. For example, during walking meditation, as you stand, as you are standing at that present moment, then you're mindful that you are standing. As you're mindful of your standing postures, then you take note of it. Take note means mentally know it or say it standing, standing, standing. So you pay attention to your standing postures as it is. You do not pay attention of your mental noting. Then, as you walk, at the beginning of the walking meditation, you may mindful and note left, right, about 10 to 15 minutes. So, you have to perceive the process movements as it duly occurs, and then you know it as it is. Meditators have to slow down the pace in accordance with one's ability. In other words, meditators slow down at a pace, a comfortable pace. When you could slow down at the pace you feel comfortable, then your mindfulness is also able to follow the movements quite well. So when you keep on practicing day by day, then you train yourself to slow down gradually. You may heard about this practice that meditators should walk like a snail, but that needs time to walk that slow. If at the beginning of the retreat, on the first day of retreat or second day of retreat, you try to walk like a snail, then you may have to put on mental effort to control your movements to be very slow. In that way, you may have less effort to develop the mindfulness because you have more effort to slow down. So what we emphasize here is to develop the mindfulness, to strengthen the mindfulness. So slowing down is a way to help you to develop mindfulness. Yet we cannot force ourselves to slow down too much, especially at the beginning of the retreat. So meditators be mindful left, right for about 10 to 15 minutes. Then, if they are able to walk slower, they may begin to mindful of 3 processes steps. They are lifting, pushing, dropping. If some meditators need to walk and be mindful left, right, more than 10 or 15 minutes, they may do that on the first day of retreat. You may mindful left, right about 20 minutes or slightly longer. They only increase the steps to lifting, pushing, dropping. Then, as you know, the mindfulness may not stay with the movements all the time. Or sometimes the mindfulness is wandering or thinking. Then you may have to stop your walking and be mindful of that thinking mind. So it's important to be mindful and note the thinking mind as well as other mental states until they have disappeared by itself. Then you start to walk again or be mindful of movements again. If meditators are able to walk for 1 hour, then it's better they walk for 1 hour. Then they should walk mindfully, slowly to the place of sitting. So be mindful and note be mindful and note lifting, pushing, dropping, walking in that pace of walk, in that way of walking in that pace to the place of sitting. At the place of sitting, or be mindful of standing, or at least 5 or 6 times. Then sit down slowly, mindfully. Arranging your legs or hands, or straightening up the body, or closing your eyes, and so on. Meditators need to be mindful of every process. So meditators always be mindful of the present moment. As you sit down, if any parts of the body touches the cushion, you can also be mindful, not touching, then continue to move again. So at the beginning of sitting meditation, if there's no distinct object, or any object that is very dominant, then you begin with the basic object of sitting meditation. As you know, the basic object of sitting meditation is the movement of abdomen, or the sitting postures, and the touching points. So movements of the abdomen is a natural process. As you breathe in, breathe out, abdomen move by itself, or move forward, or move backwards. Meditators should not force the abdomen to move, or take a stronger breath in order to create the movements to be clearer. So if the movements of the abdomen is not clear, meditators can be mindful of the alternative, or just be mindful of your sitting postures and any 2 clear touching points. So perceiving the sitting postures and note sitting, then you may choose 2 clear touching points based on your experience, and know it as it is. So be mindful of 1 touching point and note touching. Then be mindful of the second touching point, touching. Then if there's no distinct object arising, be mindful of the sitting posture again, and note sitting, and so on. So If the movements of abdomen becomes clear again, then meditators be mindful and note the movements of the abdomen again. As the meditators are mindful of this basic object, either movements of abdomen or the sitting postures or the touching point, then a stronger object arising or more distinct object arising, then meditators should be mindful of the other distinct object. So in other words, meditators be mindful of the other distinct object and know it as it duly occurs. For example, if the painful sensation becomes more distinct, then meditators be mindful, note pain, pain, pain. So when meditators are mindful of the basic objects or a stronger body sensation, and then there's a mental state arising, for example thinking, then meditators should be mindful and note the thinking immediately. Sometimes meditators know that there's a thinking, and the thinking disappears immediately. So in this case, meditators need not have to make mental noting anymore. We can make mental noting, for example, thinking, because that object, the thinking, has not yet disappeared. We cannot make mental noting if the object had disappeared. Sometimes you hear a sharp sound, but you have not yet made the mental noting, the sound had disappeared, then you should not make mental noting anymore. So when we talk about mental noting, sometimes meditators need to mentally know it or say it. But sometimes meditators cannot mentally say the name of the object anymore, or for example, hearing or thinking, because the object disappears very instantly. So in other words, that mental noting means mentally say the name of the object could not catch up with the arising and passing away of the object. Then meditators did not have to mentally say it anymore. So meditators make mental noting whenever it's possible. And usually meditators keep the practice in balance. For example, if meditators are able to walk for 1 hour, then they also put forth effort to sit for 1 hour. But on the first day of the retreat or the second day of retreat, if meditators find it difficult to sit for 1 hour, or they may sit slightly less than that, for example, about 40 minutes, then they get up again and practice walking meditation again. So meditators alternate the walking meditation and the sitting meditation. And then the third aspect of practice is mindful of your daily routine activities, such as eating breakfast, drinking, washing your face, and so on. So meditators also need to slow down gradually and naturally. At the beginning of the retreat, meditators may not be able to mindful and note every process in details. But when meditators are able to slow down gradually, day by day, then they will be able to mindful and note the movements or the activity in more and more details. For example, as you pay homage to Buddha, you're mindful of the process bowing down and note bowing, or two or three times on the first day of retreat. Then, as you are able to slow down gradually, the next day or 2 days later, then you may be able to mindful and note bowing 3 or 4 times, and so on. If meditators spend a lot of time to practice meditation at home, then when they come to the retreats, they may be able to mindful in more details than these examples. But some meditators may not have much time to practice at home. Sometimes they may have only 1 hour to practice at home. Then when they come back to the retreats, they need to slow down gradually. So when they come back to retreats, they need to train themselves to slow down gradually, and to be mindful and note the movements or the activities in more details gradually. So meditators train themselves to mindful and note one process of movements or one object or one phenomenon at each moment. So the most important is meditators be mindful and note at the present moment. We can say that meditators meditate like a piece of white paper. In other words, meditators do not think about the past experiences, do not have expectations of any experiences. Meditators thinking of getting the past experiences, then the mindfulness will be distracted by that desire. Meditators expecting some experiences, then the mindfulness will be distracted by that expectation. So meditators learn to meditate like a piece of white paper. So in the verse, meditators put aside the past experiences or any theoretical knowledge or any preconceptions. So that's why we can say that the immediate purpose of mindfulness meditation is to strengthen the mindfulness. When the mindfulness is strengthened, and when mindfulness is sustained constantly for a period of time, the meditators will gain concentration. So when there's deep concentration, meditators also realize some experiences. So this experience is due to deep concentration, and deep concentration is due to constant and continuous mindfulness. So, in other words, the duty or responsibility of mindfulness meditators is to develop mindfulness constantly and continuously. So, in other words, meditators are able to mindful and note every moment. But at the beginning of practice, meditators may not be able to mindful and note every moment. The mind could be wandering, thinking, or sometimes feeling of sluggishness arising in the mind. So it's important to be patient with yourself, especially be patient with your mind. If you have strong desire, so that you have mindfulness all the time, or you have strong desire, so that you can concentrate your mind deeply into the object, then you may not realize your desire. It's because mindfulness meditation is in such a way that when you desire something, you may not get what you desire. But if meditators just keep on staying at that present moment and be mindful and note it from one moment to next moment and from one object to next object, then they may be able to realize some experiences. So it's better that you have the aspiration. It's better that you have the aspirations to develop constant mindfulness, continuous mindfulness. Mindfulness meditation, just like a person is walking to a certain destination. So when meditators mindful and note the thinking mind, the expectation, or desire, and so on, then the mindfulness is the momentum. Mindfulness is keep going. But when meditators begins to look for the experience or think, analyzing one's practice, then the momentum mindfulness disrupted or stopped there. So when the momentum mindfulness is stopped or disrupted, then the concentration also subsided. So it is similar to the person who stopped walking, then he will not reach the destination. So the only thing that the meditators have to do is to be mindful and mindful again and again. So meditators have varieties of mental and mental phenomena and physical phenomena to be mindful of. So meditators always be mindful of the most distinct phenomenon that's arising at that moment. If there are two different phenomena, one is of mental, the other physical, meditators should give priority to the mental phenomenon. It's because meditation is mental training or mental culture. If there's no mental phenomena, then meditators should be very mindful of the physical phenomena or any body sensation, whichever is more distinct. So meditators just bear in mind that they have to be mindful and note the present moment of whatever object that's predominantly arising at that time. So I wish all meditators rightly understand this way of developing mindfulness from one moment to next moment. Put forth enough effort, and if there's any hindrances, meditators are able to overcome the hindrances and make more and more progress in the practice.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.